Hey, yo.
Let me talk to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Is it bright where you are? Have the people changed? Does it make you happy that you're so strange? It's another episode of the Other Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and rumors around the National Wrestling Alliance, the United Wrestling Network, and various independents around the world. My name is Tim, and I am joined by a second-time grandpa, everybody. Congratulations to you, Jeremy. How you doing, sir? Two-time.
I am doing wonderful. It feels great. I've got my granddaughter, Natalia, that was born almost 6 months ago. Well, no, 6 months ago now. It's the 16th today, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Or
That's right.
yeah, so she is 6 months and 5 days. And then my grandson Dean was born last Wednesday, right around this time. So he is a full week old now.
Well, congratulations to you and yours. And
Congrats.
yeah, absolutely. Now, the big question is, did you manage to get Beef Candy as the middle name?
No, I did not.
Well, as long as
I
you
was
tried.
not.
Yeah.
I tried.
Understandable. And we are joined, of course, by our fantasy booker extraordinaire and the man who was down in Louisiana at Hard Times 3 to witness the action himself, Dave Scooby. How did you enjoy the show, Dave?
Overall, I mean, I enjoyed being there. I mean, if you've ever been to a live show, whether it's the NWA, WWE, AEW, or independent shows, I mean, just being there live, it's a different feel. And then I like being able to watch it back and see what I may have missed, because, I mean, when you're there live, you're just being bombarded.
Yeah.
And it's good and it's bad because you can miss little things here and there. But, I mean, overall, I give it a thumbs up on my experience. It's maybe a thumbs in the middle on the results of some of the matches at the pay-per-view, but the taping the next day was pretty good. And I mean, it's just seeing new talent. I like seeing new talent. And I went up, I mean, they were having signings before, so some of the talent was there. You could buy shirts, pictures, whatever. They had merch for sale. It was good being able to just talk to them.
That's
and
great.
I mean, I actually walked up to Jay Spade and I'm like, I know you'll be wrestling and I know you're a tag champ, but don't you have something in your back pocket? Didn't you win something a couple months ago? I said, they sort of forgot. I think you need to remind them.
What did he say?
And he goes, what, the 4-way? I go, yeah. I go, there's a junior heavyweight championship. It may change hands tonight. I go, are you going to be there to challenge whether it's Homicide or Kerry Morton? He's like, well, when we come to that bridge, we'll cross it. I said, well, don't forget. I said, just keep that in your back pocket.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. I would love to see
I
that.
said, because it's on film. It's on film. So there's proof to it. I said, I'm over 50 years old. I may not have a good memory, but I remember stuff that I like, and I liked that match, and I'd like to see you wrestle more for the NWA. And he shook my hand and said, thank you, and he goes, I'll keep that in mind.
Wouldn't you love to see somewhere down the road where, maybe Clearwater's beat like like 5 or 6 guys just by cheating all the way through, or he's ready to go to number 7, and maybe someone's forced him into 2 title defenses in one night, and he's cheated his way out. I'm just spitballing. And Jay Spade comes out and he's like, I'm cashing in, basically. It's almost a money in the bank, right? That would be great. I'd love to see that. But he's an amazing talent. I'm glad you had a good time meeting people, and I know you met Jay and DK and
I met Jay before at 74, or was it no Crockett Cup? It was a Crockett Cup, but it was good seeing Jay, and also meeting DK and seeing some of the other fam that show up at most of the big events. But it was good, and I mean, love Louisiana. The weather wasn't as nice as I would have expected, but
yeah,
I was there for wrestling and to eat some good food, and I got both.
Amazing. Willie Bowen's in the house. Hey, Willie, good to see you. I don't know what this means, but
is that a Star reference, or is that like a?
Or is your elbow on the keyboard right now? Anyway, good to see you. We got a bunch of people I can see watching right now. So please speak up if you're in the chat. We'd love to chat with you. And that's really what we're going to be doing for the first part of this evening. We're going to talk about some of the publicity that the NWA has been getting. Last night we talked about sort of the State of the Union and how you felt about Tyrus becoming the world's heavyweight champion and the booking that had come out of the NWA. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit on this show about the publicity that they've been receiving around this in the wake of Aldis leaving, and in the wake of a couple of other things. Jeremy brought one up to me sort of behind the scenes a couple of days ago that I think is going to have some small impact, but it's a big audience. And really, when we look at that, about what do we need to do to right the ship? And I know Dave's got some thoughts on, tag teams and what we need to do in order to get Kamille some contenders. So we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. We're also going to look at results from NWA Power last night. We're going to talk about Hard Times 3 results. And I think Dave will be able to give us a bit of perspective from ringside, and we'll probably leave the minutia of the whole thing for the Alliance guys tomorrow night. And what else? Jeremy's got some UWN results, some championship wrestling results. So a lot of results tonight. And
speaking of UWN results, I want to cut in real quick and just say we have new UWN tag team champions in Reno Scum.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. And Dave will be doing some fantasy booking to anchor the show. And when he talks about Tyrus as champ and what this might mean for those around him. Let's talk about some publicity. Well, actually, let's get to the comments first. Some people are here. Chris Drummond is here. Tyrus is the greatest NWA champion since Ruth says. You can feel the moisture of the dripping sarcasm from here, guys. Willie says Lard Butt is the new world's heavyweight champion. Tom Latimer, Jack Stain, Jordan Clearwater, and Dak Draper should be his challengers. Yeah. Good names, right?
I toss some Kratos in there as well.
You could toss Kratos in there, who, went, by the way, just I guess last week when he went in that match with Tyrus and Murdoch before the pay-per-view, in that tag match, and he went nose to nose with Murdoch. I hadn't been so like immediately excited, like, oh, this is so good right now.
Right.
So long. It was so good. But let's talk about some publicity and also what's next. There's a lot of publicity right now around the NWA, guys, and is it helping them at all? And Jeremy, I thought you might want to lead us off with what you heard on Jim Cornette's the Cornette Experience, because I don't hear it talked about in our little community so far, but that's a big audience, and what Cornette had to say about an incident some time ago.
This is in reference to a meeting that Cornette had with Dave Lagana and Billy Corgan. They had a meeting shortly after the first tapings at a restaurant in Louisville while Lagana and Corgan were passing through. This was shortly after the first set of tapings. Corny pitched a few ideas for some of the wrestlers. Aaron Stevens was one of them. Mm-hmm. But Billy and Lagana, this is verbatim from this point forward, found this fucking girl they were going to start featuring, and the end of every third sentence they'd say, and she's got these huge tits, but we won't say anything about that. So I think they were going sports entertainment after first fucking taping. I think that girl ended up being an announcer or manager, not Greg Valentine, but another Valentine, end quote.
Yeah. And that's there's a lot in there. And that's just Cornette riffing, but when Cornette riffs, I don't know, I'm going to hazard tens of thousands of people are listening. So
hundreds.
Yeah. And it's not even just the detail about, this is what I'm saying Dave Lagana and Billy were talking about with Mae Valentine, and they just kept talking about her physical attributes. There's a callousness to, how trivial it was to them in the story as it was told to us as the listener.
Well, and even deeper than that, it provides a little bit of outlook of how Billy views a female talent in general.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're certainly not speaking to any of the truth or the lies around it, but we're just reporting what was said on that show. And it's a shame because Mae has come a long way, certainly since the first tapings. And if you follow her on social media, she's a wonderful, and positive person.
A very good, solid soul. And she was accomplished before she even came to the States. She's a best-selling teenage author.
Yep. Yeah.
So she's by far not just a piece of eye candy. She's intelligent.
Yeah, she is. And I don't think they give her a lot to work with, but she does probably the best that she can. And I know she continues to improve all the time. So that was sorry to hear. Just another negative piece of, even about something that, maybe Mae's segments aren't the star of the show, but they certainly aren't the worst moments you can get. She's there to help people get their characters across. And,
right.
And it just, even that's a negative story. Like, Dave, they had a lot of prior to this, and I'm sorry, I just wanted to say Chris Drummond, we just admit Billy doesn't plan to spend big money on the NWA. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I think he'll probably shelve it before he goes deep for it.
Yeah, that's honestly what I worry about in the end too, is what happens if he just goes,
yeah,
I don't want to do this, but we don't know what we don't know. Hey, Jay, good to see you, my friend. Dave, I mean, it seemed like the first bit of negative press that we kind of got was all around Aldis and what he had to say. And, we got some bad news, not necessarily negative publicity, although there was an article about it that suggested it was when Taryn Terrell hung it up. And, she made a great post. Thanks to the NWA. I loved it here. And there was an article that I recall saying, hey, she's not having a great time. but some of these things with the suspension and what's been fired by Aldis after the fact, after Hard Times 3. We talked slightly about it last night. Is any publicity good publicity, Dave, or does this just have a negative effect?
It definitely got the NWA name some traction. And they say, I mean, I'm not really sure if it's good publicity or the bad publicity will help, but it's put the name out there. But the thing is, in the back of my head, I'm like, unless Aldis has bought out his contract, he's still under contract to the NWA.
Yep.
They can have a back and forth all they want. He's still working for them. If you work for McDonald's and talk crap on McDonald's at McDonald's, you're not going to work there very long.
No.
Either release him and make him pay, or take a cut pay, or a cut in pay, whatever. I mean, it just needs to be done with.
Yeah.
And I mean, if he's still, I mean, I've worked places where I talk crap about him, but it's usually after I'm gone. I'm not in front of my boss or talking about my boss on media.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it's a work, it's one hell of a work.
Yeah.
It's the best work since, Lawler and help me out.
Kaufman, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a work. I don't think anyone thinks it is now.
No.
But it just, there's this negative ball that seems to just be building with all of these little things being added into it. And then we get, the negative effect that came off of Tyrus winning the gold. Now, here's an interesting thing. I'm not saying the Alliance had anything to do with this at all. But we went on last night on the pre-party and said, hey, let's hear what you guys have to say, right? And I read a series of comments that some were positive, most were negative, just about Tyrus winning the 10 pounds of gold. To which I just want to preface by saying I agree with Pollo Del Mar from the time from last night. Let's wait and see.
Yeah,
because there's some value in other ways there, and I'm not completely, the NWA is dead on this right now.
No.
But the NWA after that, about I don't know, late last night, put up a post that said, "All right, let's hear what you got to say, everybody." And I invite you to go and read the answers on Twitter or on Instagram. If you're saying, "Oh, you're too negative on Tyrus, you're not saying enough of the positive," go and read them because the people responded.
Yeah. And then Wrecking Ball Legursky put one up this afternoon saying that most of the people that are giving negative comments are just responding from what they've heard other people online saying. They haven't actually watched the product. And most of the comments that were replies to that were, no, we are watching the product and this isn't a good product anymore.
Right. And, again, there's just a lot of this bad publicity around the booking, around the product. I wanted to get to some of the comments. Willie, I don't know what's up, man, but you got like three tweets here that are like they're not coming through. The fixers, I guess, don't deserve, but Willie, if you're okay, just mash the keyboard twice so that we know that you're fine. I think there's something going on there, man. I think one of your keys or several of your keys might be stuck. But Chris had said, Chris Drummond, Aldis said this was his hobby, and I'm starting to agree. Yeah. And Vincent is here. Good to see you, sir. It might be a while, though, before he goes F this. Oh, talking about Billy, I imagine. As of now, the NWA is operating on a break-even level, which would explain them not doing house shows. Great show as always. Great. Glad to hear the positive review. You know, the only other thing I wanted to add about the Tyrus part of this negativity that's come out from the fans right now is there's a great argument that says, you know, you're going to get a certain percentage of Fox viewers to casually come over and look at the NWA. But he's had the TV title on that show for as many months as he's owned it. How many viewers did we get from Fox Views, and how is the 10 pounds of gold going to increase that viewership?
So we possibly got as many viewers as we saw Tyrus on TV actually defending it, which was 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's what Willie was trying to say. The Fixers are a joke. They don't deserve to be U.S. Tag Team Champions. I mean, it's pro wrestling, right? Like, let's cut them some slack here. But sure, I think we're all a little tired right now. But so we have this negativity. We've kind of almost talked it to death over the last week or so, just online, I think, all of us. But let's put a positive spin and say, what's next? What do we need to do now? And I know, Dave, you had some thoughts, like now that Idolmania Sports Management and in association with the church's money, they have almost all the male singles titles other than the World Junior. What do you figures happens around that aspect of it now?
I'm hoping that we just get some good matches out of them defending.
Yeah.
That with the TV title, it'll push Jordan up the ladder. And I mean, he knows how to work a crowd. He's young. But I mean, like even Tyrus said, these two guys, both Scion and Jordan, at any time can decide to go after him.
Yep.
Yeah, that was great, and I'm sure you'll talk about it later when we talk about the fantasy book and does he elevate people. But please continue.
I think it. I mean, it shows. I mean that their group has almost a stranglehold. That either other wrestlers are going to have to come together to battle them, or it's just going to be single guy after single guy after single guy going after the titles.
Right.
Whether it be the World Heavyweight Championship, the National Championship, or the TV Championship. I mean, to me, it's not bad. They are elevating the people that they will be in the ring with, hopefully.
Right.
The only downfall I see is more of Austin Idol. And if you saw yesterday, he was just all over. He wasn't facing the hard camera. It's almost like he forgot where he was, and he was just out of control.
Everywhere. Even Kyle called it out. I'm glad you finally found the hard cam.
Yeah.
Stop standing in front of the talent.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But I mean, it's just it's one of these things. Just it's almost a hurry up and wait. That we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
That they do have tapings coming up in a few weeks in Nashville.
Okay.
So it'll be December 5th, 6th, and 7th. So it's going to be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm not sure why they're not doing the weekend, but a lot of the talent that the NWA uses, they're independent. They aren't signed to a contract. And if they are signed, it's for minuscule amount to represent the NWA.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a
So
sponsorship deal.
yeah, so we'll see what happens in a couple weeks. That the Revolution Rumble, it was taped, and it will be a few Power episodes plus a few USA episodes.
Okay.
So I'd say at least 3, maybe 4 weeks, and then the December tapings will take us into February. If they do them the way they do, whether it's 8 or 9 settings or set of tapings where they do individual shows and have them come out. But I did talk with some of the talent when I was there. They aren't sure where the next pay-per-view is going to be besides the live Power taping.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even a taping, but they were told that it's going to be, Power is going to be live that night, plus they will do other tapings after the show is finished.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that if they're there, they have everything set up rather than, hey, let's just do 1 hour of wrestling and then call it quits, that they will do at least 2 or 3 hours of taping on either side.
Okay.
Right.
That they may do an hour of taping before to put on USA, a couple episodes, and then maybe 1 or 2 hours after for Power. That it just keeps rolling. So we'll see where they go. I'd like to see somebody sit down and just map out where they plan to go. At least do a 6-month plan.
Yeah.
But it is helping. I did see Dr. Tom there again.
Good.
He's having very good conversations with the talent that I talked to. That the actual talent is being able to go to the veterans that are either wrestling or the veterans that are acting as producers, and they're getting a better concept of what they want done on camera.
Okay.
You know, it's interesting that, you know, when we look at, okay, like they're getting some help behind the scenes, and slowly there's an opportunity for them to move forward as a company, and you know, there are roadmaps that can be followed over from other companies that have gotten bigger, but not really too many in recent memory. So it's kind of you're almost trailblazing it all from scratch. And I could see how that like Impact kind of grew, but Impact to me has been the same for, 15, 20 years now. It doesn't seem to have made it past that thing, that level. I wanted to ask you something, Jeremy. But Willie says, Idiot Mania Sports Management imitation of the Four Horsemen. And yes, so is 75% of every stable ever made.
Yeah.
But this one, as I ask you a question, Ric Flair doesn't need a news program to promote his NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. What I wanted to take out of this comment, Jeremy, is your grandpa didn't take you to go see, I don't know, the gobbledygooker, and if you want to call Gags the Gimp the modern day gobbledygooker, or he didn't take you to see Rolando Freeman wrestle and defeat the former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion twice. He took you to the NWA to see guys like Ric Flair who didn't need this crap. To Willie's point, and I feel like we're so firmly in sports entertainment when the history is all, wrestling, and we all know they're two different things.
Yeah.
And how do you get back there? Wouldn't almost just a fresh start? And it wasn't that long ago. It was, just think about Aldis at the beginning of the Lightning One era. How do you think they get they get your attention and you're all right, I'm into this. I'm liking this more than the level I do right now.
They've got to get away from the hokey sports entertainment aspects. Wrestling at its core is a family event thing. You should be able to take anyone of any age to a wrestling show, and they should be able to understand it to an extent. Good guy versus bad guy. Good guy hopefully wins, but not always. You don't have to have provocative content there as far as a man in a gimp costume. How do I explain that to, say, my granddaughter's 6 years old, not 6 months old?
Right.
How do I explain that to my 6-month-old granddaughter? Oh, that's a gimp costume, sweetheart.
Yeah.
I can't. At some point, she's going to get older. That's a guy with a bull mask on because he's got horns. And then she gets older and she finds out that, no, that was a gimp mask and my grandfather lied to me. I'm not lying to my grandchildren or to my children for the sake of a wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. There needs to be a hard pivot. They need to put the e-brake on, completely start over from scratch with this next round of tapings, I think, and get rid of a lot of that stuff. I don't even want to say get rid of it, because provocative is a broad paintbrush, and that can mean something to anybody.
Sure, Captain Yuma can wrestle.
Yeah.
Say it that way. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. He might not like that idea. I don't know. But that's what they should call the next pay-per-view, Hard Pivot.
Yeah.
I like it. Dave, you're always very pragmatic about this stuff and trying to think on the specifics about how it might work. And, I know that you think that they've got to restock and focus on both male and female tag teams, as well as building up a new opponent for Kamille, who frankly now has beaten everybody at least once, probably twice now. How would you go about that if you were offering advice to the NWA today? Like, what would you do?
Well, I was at the tapings. I can say that there are a few newer teams that have been put together, at least. I don't know if they're staying together, but they're hopefully, there's quite a few tag teams already, but you have to figure out who's going to go for the U.S. titles and who's going to go for the world titles.
Yeah.
They need to just sit down and go, okay, we're going to feature this on USA and these teams and these wrestlers on USA. It's not saying that you're not worthy of the big show. It's just we need to start fresh or start anew, developing tag teams, single wrestlers, whether it's male, female, or non-binary. They just need to be more specific and more clear on the journey. Where are they going? If the Fixers are the U.S. Tag Team Champions, that's great. You have several teams that are lower to mid-tier that can go for those titles to either build them up. Because right now, I'd say a majority of the people that hold titles, half of them don't need the title. But they're making the title something. The Fixers in my opinion, really don't need the title. La Rebellion, great team. They're representing the titles, but they don't need the titles.
Yeah.
Right.
Kamille is making the Burke something. Whoever knocks Kamille off the throne, they should be made.
Yeah.
Tyrus, for whatever reason, his storyline, he's now champion. He goes way back with Billy to TNA/Impact. Cardona, in my opinion, it would have been received a lot better if Cardona would have gotten the belt back, being that he never lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
But right now, Matt Cardona is working with the NWA. He's not a friend of Billy's from way back. He and Billy are boss and employee.
Yep.
Right. And,
So
and
that's-
honestly, that's the way it should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm willing to give Tyrus the benefit of the doubt. When he was TV champion, he had the 6-minute and 5-second TV time to save his matches. Now he has to either work, or whoever he's going against, they need to work together to make these matches the best that they can be.
Yeah.
Because you're representing the world championship.
Right. You know, and we've talked about leading up to this, what does Tyrus bring? And we all know he brings the 500,000 Twitter followers. He brings Gutfeld and the casual fan base. And this is a good point to put in DK's comment. Who or what is the casual fan that promoters claim they're after? Yeah, I don't know what makes I'm assuming, I've never watched it because it's Fox News, a right-wing news watcher likely to be a fan of professional wrestling.
Well, the way I look at it, guys, is if wrestling was coffee, you have all these different places that serve coffee that you can go to. Starbucks if you like these certain kind. If you want just a plain Jane coffee, you can go to the Quick Stop. You can make it yourself.
Yeah.
It's up to you. But I mean, when you go in, you need to figure out what you're doing. You're either a coffee drinker and you drink 3, 4, 5 cups a day, or you don't drink coffee at all. Myself, I love the smell of coffee. I like the little coffee nips, the little candies, but I myself don't drink coffee. So you have to pick and choose. It's not, oh, these casual fans, you either like wrestling or you don't. It's usually not something that at age 30 you're like, oh, hey, I saw these guys wrestling around in their underwear, maybe I'll watch it. You either grew up with it, you soured on it, you decide to come back.
Yep.
But there's not really a casual fan.
Yeah.
That if you're a casual fan, if you're going after the casual fan, it's like, oh, hey, I'm a fan of Logan Paul and he's now wrestling. You have to have somebody that has big main draw and people are willing to follow that person wherever they go.
And I think it's big name athletic draw. Logan Paul's a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
And also attitude, because I want to punch that guy in the face so incredibly badly. But
Oh yeah.
that's the appeal.
Yeah, that's the definite appeal.
Hey, Media M5's here. Welcome.
Media.
Carlton Paget.
Greetings.
What's that?
I said greetings.
Yeah, greetings. Carlton's here. I'm just going to get to some of the comments as well. You know, DK had made his comment, what's a casual fan? Media says, like, these companies are hoping it's just anyone who watches TV and says, oh, wow, I want to watch this. Or they view it and say, oh, I like it. And if companies or others think casuals will run back, it's probably not going to happen. These old wrestling viewers aren't casuals anymore. Thing is, if you're trying to recapture like You know what? I'm a good example. I was away from wrestling from 20 years. A friend of mine, he texted me and he goes, "Do you know the Rock and Roll Express just won the NWA World Tag Team titles?" I was like, "What?" And I came back to the NWA. I'm like, "Oh my God, they're doing studio wrestling," and all of this kind of snowballed for me. And I would, in that situation, have been a casual fan of the. I used to love the NWA, but I haven't watched it in years. And oh my God, I'm excited. If you're a guy like me, and a friend of mine calls me up and goes, "Do you know Tyrus just won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship?" I would be like, "Okay, good luck to him."
Yeah.
I'm not going to run and see that.
See, and I was kind of the same. I was a casual fan of the WWE because it was essentially the only product out at the moment.
Yeah.
And I could never catch Impact. I wasn't aware of Ring of Honor at the time or the myriad of other independents that were going on because, well, I'm a Luddite to technology, and I just recently discovered you can watch wrestling on YouTube. So,
Right.
yeah.
I
But as soon as I found out about it, I'm like, bet that's what I grew up on. And now I'm doing a podcast talking about it. So,
yeah. Or at least we're a podcast about what we think it should be if it's emulating what it is that we loved.
Could be. Yeah.
Jay's got some ideas. Repackaged gags. I promote Ella Envy. I agree with that as well. I hope I haven't missed anybody up here. And apologies if I have. Doesn't look like it. Let me go down here now. Let's go to Carlton. Guys like the Fixers and Tyrus don't need a belt to be relevant. Exactly.
No, they don't.
Did Ox Baker, Ernie Ladd, or Bam Bam Gordy need a belt? Nope. Willie.
And those are all legit legends there now.
Yeah. I mean, Ox Baker, if you hear anybody from back in the day, couldn't wrestle, but he looked the shit.
Yeah.
He was the kind of guy like kids used to get cardiac arrest when he walked into the arena. Someday I'll tell you guys the story about how Wahoo McDaniel threw my friend Jeff down the stairs at Varsity Stadium. It was the best moment of our lives.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, I'm Willie says a fan of Allison Kay, Genocide, Kenzie Page, and Kamille. So we've got the talent here. We can take the talent that you know what, guys, I always say we because I'm invested like you guys are as well. But so we can take the talent we have, do the hard pivot, and and hopefully get this off the ground. Whether or not it happens, I don't know. Carlton asked, "What happened to the women's TV championship?" Have you heard anything, Dave?
No, I have not. I didn't ask, but I'm hoping it's a good idea down the line. Right. If and when the NWA expands, but right now, I mean, I'm glad that they're using newer talent, different talent. They rotate, but sometimes less is more. That if you would cut it down and say, okay, we're going to have 20 males, 10 of them are going to be singles wrestlers, and we're going to have 5 tag teams out of that for the power shows.
Right.
We're going to have 4 women featured on the power. Then on USA, we're going to have this and this. That if you split up your roster, that I look at it as USA is the minor leagues, whereas Power may not be the major leagues, but it's at least AAA. That you work your way up. That if you have, you can feature them on either show, but it make the story make sense. Why are they there?
100%. And when I'll tell you guys, I'll ask everybody the same question. If you were running the NWA from scratch right now, how many belts would you have? Men, women's, tag combined? My answer is 3.
Yeah.
And I think I would be, maybe you could talk me into a 4th, but I think 3, even with the 90 odd people that they've got on the roster right now. Men's, TV, actually 4. I would say 4. Women's and the tag team championship, a men's tag team championship.
Yeah.
Someone's got to figure out that belts don't mean asses in seats, right?
And having multiple belts devalues every belt above it.
Right. Yeah, dilutes it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unless you're someone like Scion who's like, I'm going to take this belt and go all over and defend it, what value does it really have just because, we say it's higher? Rick Del Santo is there. Rick, send me a note on Twitter. I want to talk to you about something. It's nice that you're here. We're talking about some of the old guys. Terry Gordy was a former All Japan Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion, Willie says. And guys like Ham and Brody and not so much Bam Bam, but like the guys when they did have titles, it almost like to this point, it didn't matter. Like they dragged the title to the ring, right? They wouldn't. This is my babe. Those are guys that would just come to the ring and start clubbing you.
Yep.
Anyway, let's get into some of this here. This might actually work in a crazy way. Billy is booking like Georgia Championship Wrestling in the Mid-South. Okay. Bam Bam did when titles different territories, but still didn't need the strap to draw money. Yeah. Jay thinks Ernie Ladd should have the belt. Could CM Punk save the NWA? He ain't coming. Come on. You're laughing when you wrote that. I know you are. It's not coming here.
Could give the old Chicago rub.
We would
one Chicago brother to another, brother me softly there.
We would immediately have 26 million viewers if that happened.
And then the next week it dropped by 99%.
Yeah, that's probably true. If not Punk, Jay asked, is there anyone in free agent market who can save the NWA? Not that I can think of. And I've thought of it a little bit.
I honestly thought Cardona stood a good chance of it. He had done a good amount of self build up on the indies and then GCW and stuff. So I really held out hope that he was going to, and he did bring some eyes to it. I don't know how many actually stuck around or anything, but I feel he was a little bit more successful in bringing eyes to it than Tyrus has been.
Yeah. There's some talk in the chat around CM Punk being the answer or not being the answer for the NWA. It's a moot point. He's not coming.
No.
No one can afford him. Like his financial pull would be more than the NWA grosses probably in years, right? I've got to think.
Yeah. I would love to see Watts in the NWA, but I don't think that he would be. I don't think that he would bring enough eyes to make a difference. But I'd love to see Watts wrestling again. Period.
Yeah, here that is. Yeah. I just don't know. I think enough people know Watts. I don't think enough people know Bulletproof Troop either. Is Brian Cage a free agent?
No.
I didn't think
so. He's I believe signed ROH.
Yeah, I believe he's ROH AEW.
Yeah.
Jay doesn't think Cardona was ever the guy. I think that the injury stopped the experiment.
I think so too.
I think it had a chance of working, but you certainly could be right. What if Punk was offered ownership? Of what? 3 letters? I mean...
Billy won't do that. Come on now. Come on, Jay. Billy won't do that, bro.
I mean,
Billy,
yeah.
No. He'll stat it like we said earlier. If anything, I see him shelving this, putting it next to his his platinum trophies and his guitar collection before he gives anybody any type of sway in it.
Right.
He doesn't want.
I mean, if they want ownership in the NWA, I'll buy those letters.
Yeah, I'd buy stock in it just to say I own stock in the NWA because I'm a wrestling fan. You know.
Jay's coming on. Jay's coming on the show.
Awesome, nice.
If you need an invite, let me know, and I'll send you the invite, Jay.
Because I am curious. I mean, it would definitely get eyeballs to it. And I do think that a chunk of those would stay. It wouldn't be a big chunk, but it would be a chunk. But I just, he's got that same thing going on for him that Aldis does right now. You badmouthed your former employee. No employer wants that. On the flip side of that, with Billy, he's bad-mouthing his employee, and no potential employee wants to come into a situation like that either.
Right.
And Punk's definitely not one to sit back and let somebody bad-mouth him.
Nope.
That's true. And I got to tell you, I don't know if he's toxic or not. Jay, check Instagram. Your message is there.
I don't know if he's toxic or not, but I know he's very confident in himself and very, I don't want to say alpha male, but he's not going to be pushed around either.
That's right. I never get the impression publicly that he abuses being his alpha male. He is very confident. Like when he famously said, "I don't have to work with you. You have to work with me." Right?
Yeah. That was a great that line right there gave me chills whenever he said it, because that's one of those "I'm not in here with you, you're in here with me" Rorschach things.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Everyone looked busy. Alliance is great. Everything's great. Hey, Jay, how are you?
We love the Alliance.
Hey, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean.
That's
all hell.
All right.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Explain yourself.
5 times already, boss.
Hey, guys, I'm literally driving. I know this is against the law, especially in California, but I feel like I needed to speak to somebody because, DKM listened to me rant and rave long enough. And quite honestly, I don't think he appreciates what I have to say anymore. So I'm bringing my insane stylings to this podcast just for a few moments because it's the situation with CM Punk. Now, again, guys, I do believe that he is nowhere near going to be coming to the NWA. But I can make a case where it would make sense for all parties involved. Okay. And I make that case with Exhibit A. During the media skirm, what was he talking about? He was talking about how he was trying to take this company to the next level, that he was bringing in that first $1 million gate at the box office, that he was trying to run a company. Sure sounded like he was an engaged employee who wanted to do more than just wrestle.
Oh, definitely.
Now, I'm not saying that Billy Corgan's the right guy. Hell, I'm not even saying CM Punk is the right guy. But if there's a guy out there who's got a chip on his shoulder who'd like to prove everybody wrong, if Vince, Triple H, Tony, the Elite, hell, even Impact Wrestling, because he had a stint there, wouldn't that guy be CM Punk? And on top of that, if like Jeremy mentioned, the Chicago connection, right? You've got the ambassador of Chicago and Billy Corgan. You've got the ambassador of Chicago and CM Punk. And if they can make something work where there was some sort of ownership based on performance, and if you're telling me that, they don't have money to sign CM Punk, well, yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah,
and it would have to be incentive based. He's not going to give him the whole farm, but hey, man, here's 30% of ownership. You have creative control over your gimmick, over your matches. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, but this is the way I look at it, right? If if you're a free agent, you're out of AEW, the WWE is going to give you all the money in the world if you're CM Punk. They're going to give you creative control. And if let me pick an actor maybe. If you're Tom Hanks, you've won a couple of Oscars, right? You're the cream of the crop in Hollywood. You get paid a mint for doing what it is that you do. Are you going to go do cable access television?
Well, see, so that's a great comparison, except for there's lots of actors in Hollywood that have won those Academy Awards and now want to go do the indie things and they want to go do the smaller pictures that have more meaning to them, that they can be the artist that they want to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's also where production companies come in as well, where they start producing TV shows and stuff like that as well, like your Ronnie Howards and Brian Glazers.
And think of it, and again, I don't want to take too much time because this wasn't supposed to happen today. And thank you for humoring me, fellas. But if there was any company that it would make sense for, wouldn't it be the NWA because of the connection with Chicago? Because also, it's not like CM Punk wants to go out and do 300 days on the road in tour, right? Like he's got a lot of other projects he's involved in. So a couple of days every quarter is really all he has to commit to. And if you're going to offer that guy a big, I guess it'd have to be close to 7-figure salary plus ownership in the company. I mean, I don't know. And again, guys, I don't have the answer. I'm not the guy. But if I was the guy, that would be a slam dunk decision I would make right now.
But if he really is wanting to get back into wrestling and do this and build up a company, though, would it really have to be 7 figures if he's getting part ownership? The man's already sitting on a mint. He doesn't have to do this. So, I mean, as long as he gave him, as long as he gave him creative control, I like your idea. I like your thought process with this.
I'm not trying to shit on the product that we all love in this particular statement, but the home run hitter from Major League Baseball, whoever that might be right now, he's not going to join my beer league team.
No, this is very true.
No, but your beer league doesn't have a lot to offer him. But if someone who has always wanted to be the guy, to be the main event, to be the guy in that the center focus of the team, the guy who has always wanted to be basically the person that the company's shoulders rest on. Mm-hmm. And that's all. You know what? And trust me, guys, I don't have delusions of grandeur. I don't really think this is going to happen. It's fun to talk about. But I'm going to take off because I don't want to take up any more of your guys' time. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. I've got a lot of shit to say myself. But I love you guys. It was really cool seeing you, Scoob. And have a good rest of the show.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, buddy. That's a fun exercise.
Yeah.
And I guess that's fantasy booking. I mean, it is, but there you go. Let's go back to some of these things. Wow, we're behind. They have some, which is great because this has been so much fun. They have some talent and a few names. He just needs help with the booking. Vincent Verbex Patterson says, I know manpower is the issue with them not doing 10 pounds of gold and Nation Time. Those were good at building characters. Yeah, I mean, the 10 pounds of gold series really made an impact.
And again, I volunteer as tribute to help out with that 10 pounds of gold footage. I've said this before. I would gladly do that for them if they wanted to, because that helped get me invested into what Power was going to be.
Yeah. Carlton says Latimer needs the belt, and it would work with the talent EC3, Cardona, Adonis, and Pope. I think that he would be a fun champion. I think he's got ways to go to be there, and I might slap a national title on him first, but who knows? Billy should get back to what made them hot. Build up Odinson and Mims to make Aaron Stevens a top guy, which is what Corny kind of wanted. I love the sentiment. I do. I just feel like they've shot Odinson and Mims down now, and I don't know. We'll get into it as we talk about the show.
Yeah.
Media was saying Colt Cabana to come in if Punk was there. You can do an ankle. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Never happened. He's got no time for the guy.
No.
I think Willie's responding to that saying that would be a disaster, like Hogan and Eric Bischoff, totally garbage. Dave Marquez should be running the NWA. From your lips to God's ears, my friend.
Right. That man's got the blueprint going on in UWN right now.
He really does. No Punk intended, but this wouldn't work because as soon as Punk don't get what he wants, he takes his bags and leave. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You hear stories, and I never know what to buy. Jeremy reminded me a couple of weeks ago, this is pro wrestling. You never quite know what's up.
Yeah.
And Willie, you're right. Dave should be running it now. Dave Marquez. So, I mean,
for that matter, Dave Scooby should be booking it.
Yeah. But,
I mean, honestly, I said that on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah. There's no relationship that I'm aware of between Marquez and Billy Corgan.
No.
It just doesn't exist any longer.
That bridge was with that relationship was bridged with Lagana, and then when Lagana left the picture, there wasn't really a buffer, and that kind of got torched. Yep.
Let's move to Hard Times 3 results. I'm going to leave the rest because I know Jay and DK were there with Dave to see the show live. By the way, Dave, you go back and watch this pay-per-view, you are featured extensively through every entrance that's there.
Yeah.
You're like the most
that's one of the things that whenever I go to a pay-per-view now, I try to get within the first 5 rows by the entryway because, I mean, you have a good view of the matches, but I like the entrance.
Right.
I can get some decent pictures, and I mean, I shared as many pictures as I could with members of the fam, even some of the wrestlers that I had taken pictures of. I sent DMs to them, and I mean, they're just good. I mean, I'm surprised the pictures were as good as they were from an iPhone.
They turned out really well, just like right there, and someone should put Hebon Huerta right there and just start taking the pictures from that angle because it worked out really well.
The picture from this week's thumbnail was from Dave Scooby, and I've got a good chunk of pictures that Dave sent me, so those will, moving forward, those will be included in the thumbnails, and I'll be tagging each wrestler that's in there. This week we had Max the Impaler, so
yeah, that was great photo, a great thumbnail. Let's run through it. AJ Kazana starts off the pre-show versus Jordan Clearwater, NWA television title match that sees Jordan Clearwater become finally the NWA television champion.
Finally.
What'd you think, Jeremy, when you were watching it?
I was so glad that he finally won. He truly is golden. I mean, he has that heel style down in the ring. His interactions with the crowd during his matches. I think he has the potential to surpass Ric Flair as far as a likable, acceptable heel in the future. You know, wow. I think he truly embodies that heel character, and he could be one of those ones that transcends and just further down the line, you know, be one of those Ric Flair types. It doesn't matter what way he goes, people are going to react to him positively, negatively, but he gets the reaction that he's looking for every time.
Yeah, I agree. He's great. How did the crowd react in the stadium, Dave, to that win?
It was a good match. They were. I really can't say that they were on either of the guys' sides, but that they were razzing Jordan. That they were golden boy, hey, this and this, and they were just yelling at him, and he was playing off of the crowd.
Yep,
which is great.
And it's like, hey, don't you wish you look just like me, this and this, and Jordan has it down. I think him winning the match plays into the Idol Sports Management, Church's money. We're taking over.
Mm-hmm.
They need to build up younger talent. Not saying AJ wouldn't have been good, but AJ came into the NWA. They featured him a little because of his dad, but he is a tag team wrestler.
Yeah.
And in the future, you will see him along with Anthony Andrews wrestling as a tag team, the Country Gentlemen. They need to build them up. I'm not saying that they're going to be world tag champions anytime soon, but they don't need to be. They just need to be a good tag team that can go after the U.S.
Yep.
If they can get that, then they can work their way up.
Yep.
You know, it's funny. I had no time for AJ Kazana or Anthony Andrews. I was just, we need job guys around. It's good. Let's just, I'm not fans of either. And this past week on Power, they let them talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I went,
okay.
I
like them as a tag team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so important, I think. We'll talk about that later. I'm going to run through a couple that I don't think that we, really matter. Slime Season versus the Miserably Faithful for the Wildcat Sports Tag Team Championship. I mean, this was what it was, guys. Unless you have any comments, I don't think it means a ton to the NWA.
No.
Okay.
Slime Season, they looked okay. I wouldn't mind seeing them in the NWA moving forward. But I'm also not sure about that either. I'd like to touch on that in a little bit as well.
Yeah, perfect. And we can, we'll do it now if you want. What are you thinking?
Well, there were two tweets that Luke Hawks put out in regards to the attendance of Hard Times 3. And at first he attributed it to Tyrus. And then at the end of the tweet, he was like, no, that was Wildcat support.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another tweet where somebody had tweeted that Luke and PJ should have won. And Luke's response was, there should have been a lot of things. I'm paraphrasing here, but maybe I should be on a nationally televised news broadcast network.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I'm not. It seemed like there may have been a little heat with that. That's the way I interpreted those.
Yeah, I wondered too. It's it's interesting. Right in the middle of the tapings, that involves his promotion. So
yeah.
And yeah, you know what? In my view, Kazana's too old school for the NWA nowadays. Jay doesn't like AJ at all. I like the it's almost a Tyrus phenomenon for me. And he seems like he's pretty good on the mic. Can't watch him in the ring.
Yeah.
Mercurio with Jack Stain and Alex Taylor stepping in for Magic Jake, who's injured after fighting 42 guys in the street.
Yeah.
These things happen when you're an orphan.
That's right. Versus Anthony Crimweather. JTG and Pope in a hardcore team war match. I don't know, Jeremy, your thoughts on this? You were shaking your head right off the bat. Okay. Should I put the logo up?
That's the thoughts.
Really? I don't know if we're there yet.
No, it was what it was. You know,
We have to
I mean,
save it for the match.
I don't enjoy Mayweather Crimson. He is a good wrestler. He's void of emotion to me.
Right. Carlton likes the country gentleman. Put them with Thrillbilly and a manager. I could buy that. We know who that manager is.
Mhm.
Mercurochrome. I don't get it, but there you go. Jeremy looks like he's fallen asleep, like he's frozen for me. but anyway, I spoke to Luke in night 2. Jay says he wasn't happy. Well, I look forward to that story. I'm pretty sure JTG Pope and Crimweather won that one. We got in. That was the end of the pre-show, and then to start the show, the pay-per-view. Oh, you're back now, Jer.
Yeah.
We had Natalia Markova versus Maxie Impaler in a casket match, a Voodoo Queen casket match, which I thought was decent, and just the bump that Markova took on the top of that
They
casket.
beat the hell out of each other.
Oh man.
You were right there, Dave. You were like 10
Oh
feet
my
from
god!
that.
It was a good match to start off the pay-per-view. But I mean, maybe I'm overthinking, but just in the back of my head, I keep thinking, okay, the NWA needs to figure out how to push Max and where to push Max.
Yeah.
That Max is non-binary. Why are you having a Queen's casket match?
Right.
I know you have the crown. Max took the crown, destroyed it. But you're destroying Markova, who you had pushed for quite a while. You need to figure out what direction you're going. As much as I hate to say it, the NWA needs to go back to the way it was. When you feature good versus bad on your pay-per-views.
Yeah.
But then you have to separate them and build them up on quote-unquote TV that Markova shouldn't be losing. In a pay-per-view, it's okay because you can rebuild her. But it's almost, you have to almost go back to the quote-unquote NWA, WWF jobber matches. To build up these people, there has to be a winner and a loser.
Right.
Markova didn't lose much in losing because her opponent was much better than her, and there was quote-unquote outside interference with Sal being in the coffin. But it was a no disqualification match. Outside the ring, it didn't matter. So Sal being there to help, no harm, no foul. But it made both of the wrestlers look good because literally, I mean, they were beating the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
In the ring, outside of the ring, on the casket, in the casket. It was a good match to start things off, and it got the crowd into it.
Yeah, it was good. In fact, the order of the matches, I like to look at it like, would I book it this way? And I thought, it wasn't too bad overall. I might have one or two differences, but this was a good start off for the match.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, we get Davey Richards, Colby Carino for the MLW Openweight title. Jeremy, what'd you think?
Oh, my Lord. That could have been a main event for me. Such a great match. Davey Richards is amazing, and this allowed Colby to show a lot of people just how good he actually is as well. And it's so good to see that he is just that damn good. I mean, I wasn't too big on him whenever he first came in to the NWA, but I wasn't too aware of him. But man, that kid, I don't want to call him a kid, but that man can go.
Yeah. And, Richards goes over, retains the MLW Openweight title, as I guess he should. Dave, how'd the crowd like it?
The crowd was very much into it. They do have history with Richards and Steve Corino.
Yeah.
In the past. And I mean, Richards is just a machine.
Yeah.
He just goes at it. And in my eyes, watching the match, it took Colby up a notch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't always have to take the low road or a shortcut, but he still didn't show the respect at the end of the match.
Maintains his heel status. Yeah.
Yeah, he did the heel. That it's a story in the making of once it clicks in his head, I don't have to be this way. I just need to wrestle better.
Right.
I need to be better than my opponent. And on this night, he wasn't better. And it wasn't a good or a bad thing. It was a learning thing.
Yep.
It's reminiscent to me of his dad in ECW in a way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When he stopped being a wimp, to say it mildly, and decided, I'm going to wrestle my way to the top. And lo and behold, ECW World Heavyweight Champion. EC3, the crowd was hot after that. Match of the night for me, Davey Richards and Colby Corino. The crowd's excited. EC3 and Tom Latimer drops a bomb on this crowd where they're just like, everyone's excited it's going to happen. And then in the middle of the exchange, EC3 bails out, grabs a mic, and cuts a promo in the middle of the match. The Latimer stands there, and then it ends with a crossface on EC3 and Latimer refusing to let go, and then assaulting the ref and getting disqualified. It really seemed like they had an opportunity to have two guys that are just right at the cusp of the upper middle card or lower tier of the bottom of the top tier, the lower end of that, and really elevate them up. And I just went, you got to be kidding me! You've wasted this. Anyway, Dave, what did the crowd think right there at the arena?
It just stopped any momentum going forward. If I would have been booking it, I wouldn't have even started the match. That when EC3 went and grabbed the mic, I would have just had him in the ring talking down to Tom and then just walk away. This match wasn't booked correctly in my eyes because it didn't help the storyline or either of the wrestlers.
Yep.
Tom didn't win. He didn't lose. It did nothing. I mean, if anything, it lowered them. And both of them are very good wrestlers. And it would have been a hell of a match if they would have just got in there and started throwing haymakers.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have. To back it up a second, Carlton Paget says they love that Richards on the pay-per-view, but what was it other than a great match? I hope NWA and MLW work together. Me too. There's a lot of great crossover potential.
Love for that to happen.
Yeah. For this match, Jer, media says people wanted wrestling, but they got a wrestling angle in a match after the EC3 promo. Did you feel the same way that this shouldn't have been done at a pay-per-view, but an episode of Power, I think he means. Was it pay-per-view worthy for you, or did you throw your hands up in despair?
No, it wasn't pay-per-view worthy. If this is what controlling a narrative is, then be done with it. I don't want a soap opera monologue in the middle of a match. That could have been, you could have done that before, you could have done that after it, but not in the middle. Completely pulled me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The dumbest part of it to me wasn't that he went, wait, listen to me. It was that Latimer didn't just hoof him and pile drive him and
That too. You've got this much animosity after, when it was done, said and done and over with, you attack the ref, you get disqualified and everything. Where was that ferocity while he's standing 10 feet away from you?
Also, and also I don't want to get into it, but the whole, and I'm sure Latimer was fine with it, but the whole bringing up his past demons.
Yeah,
aspect,
that's.
I don't know.
Again, like you said, I'm sure he was fine with it. I can't see him not signing off on it. But in this day and age, to demonize somebody for their past vices, mistakes, and stuff, I get it. It's kind of what's going on right now. But in the same instance, I would get it if he was still behaving that way, but he hasn't. From what I understand, the man has made huge strides in his personal life to overcome a lot of that stuff. So it was kind of left a bitter taste in my mouth.
Yeah, the cat is actually moving the monitor. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Hey, Colby, by the way, great mustache on that thing.
Right? Was a sweet stash. I wish I could grow one like that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. He looked like a villain that tied someone to a railroad tracks.
Snidely Whiplash.
Well, the actual story behind that, I can't remember who told me, but that they had talked with Colby about it. I'm not sure what he dressed up for Halloween as, but he shaved except his mustache.
Okay.
Well, he also wrestled either that weekend or the next weekend, and since he had shaved, he didn't have his full beard back. They asked him so much about his mustache, he's like, I got to keep this mustache and just
into it. Yeah.
That more or less. And I'm like, yeah, I could see it. Do I said, grab Magic Jake's hat, put his hat on. He'd be a snidely and I mean, it's just, it adds to his character.
Yeah.
But I mean, going back to the EC3 Latimer, that could have easily been done on a pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
If they weren't going to wrestle, just go out, give them 3 or 4 minutes of in-ring talking. Then they could have freed up that space to add to matches on the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, to me, it actually really did nothing.
Yeah.
Snidely and Dudley. You know who else used to remind me of Snidely? Not for anything, but Royce Isaacs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another great mustache.
Yeah, that great mustache. But he was such a 1920s serial movie villain.
Yeah.
He's great. I wish he'd be around.
He always reminded me he would have fit very well in with the vaudevillains out of NXT.
That's right. Yep. The Fixers versus Spectaculars. I mean, the Fixers retain the U.S. Tag Team titles. I'm fine with that and leaving it there. Homicide, the dominant World Junior Heavyweight Champion Homicide, finally drops the World Junior Heavyweight Championship to Kerry Morton. And so Morton goes over, begins his reign. The crowd seemed happy. Dave, was that the case?
Yes, Homicide played the heel role very well. Antagonized the crowd. I'm just hoping that they build up the junior heavyweights and tell a good story with Kerry, which I think they can. But he needs to step out of his dad's shadow down the line.
Right. Right.
And it's one of these things of not very many people know unless you're a actual historian of junior heavyweights. Ricky was not always a tag team wrestler.
Right.
He held the junior heavyweight championship. So Kerry is the quote unquote future legend and a legacy.
Right.
With that family holding the belt, it can build up several contenders, hopefully, and they can tell a good story if and when he finally loses.
If and when just when he drills his dad in the head with the title and joins Colby Carino and the Fortunate Sons.
Yes. Please make that
I
happen.
keep pushing this. I'm going to will it into reality.
Just call them the SOBs.
The SOBs.
Hey, I like that a lot.
That's pretty good. Scion defends successfully against Dak Draper, who's winless. Winless? No, he is not lost, is what I'm saying. His win streak comes to an end at this pay-per-view as he goes down to Scion for the national title match. I didn't miss anything, did I? No, I didn't. Jeremy, what did you think of Scion going over?
I'm fine with that. Draper needs to be built up a little bit more in the NWA, I think. And with what Scion's been doing outside of the NWA with the national title, it just makes sense to keep it on him right now.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, it's a bomb idea. Yes, it is. I love the idea. I can't get that one out of my head. It's got to happen. Dave, tell me about what the crowd thought.
There were moments the crowd were into it, but for some reason, Scion really isn't. I don't know if it's because Austin is there, but they're not really connecting. I mean, he's very, very good wrestler. He's there.
Yeah.
But he's not grabbing the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got it. He's Scion's on social media all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Every picture is a picture of the belt or him with the belt or the belt somewhere. We got to get more exposure for Scion. That's all. And it's so funny because before he was national champion and started doing that, I didn't care about Scion.
Yeah,
I haven't cared about him for 6 months. But
I like that new gear he's got to remind him of the Dragon Ball.
It's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah.
I liked it a lot too. Pretty empowered. Retained the Women's World Tag Team Championship over Maddie and Missa Kate. Jeremy, what'd you think there?
This one kind of surprised me. I was expecting an implosion of the Pretty Empowered. But on the flip side of that, I like the idea of them holding on to it. Again, this is another one where I think Maddie and Missa need to be built up a little bit more in the tag team division for them to, what's the word I'm looking for here, logically fit into the being champions at this point. They're still fairly new, so this was the right way to go, I think. And it was a good match overall. You know, I enjoy both teams. All four of them are sound, solid wrestlers. So I enjoyed it.
Dave, the right results in this one?
Yes, I think because I mean the newer team, like Jeremy was saying, they need to be built up. It's not we've been together for 3 weeks and we're ready to take on the champions.
Yeah.
That one of the things that the NWA, in my eyes, need to work on is either bringing in outside talent that is either recognized, has a following, or build their own teams. Now, the men's teams, there's several, I'd say, decent to good teams that can go after the U.S. titles, tag titles. They need to build up a few more teams for the world tag titles.
Right.
But for the women's tag, I'm not sure if that was just done for Empower last year to highlight them. But right now, you don't have a lot of teams unless you bring in outside teams. That they need to concentrate on putting talent together or bringing in talent to feature them at set tapings where they can go over for 2 or 3 months of programming.
Yep.
And then move on to the next team.
Right. Yeah. Right result. I agree with you guys. I am going to do the commentary for this next match solo, if you don't mind. Allow me this to do as the question marks battle in a mask versus mask match. Here's my opinion of this.
Oh my good. Media M5, you outdid yourself.
Thank you, media.
That was glorious.
Look, I would move just right along, guys, and and just go, yeah, who cares? But there was there anything that came out of this? Oh, that's right. They took the mask off of the question Mac and covered his head with the towel. Moving on. La Rebellion in what I would call the second best match of the night versus the Hometown Boys, Hawks Aerie, NWA World Tag Team titles. The crowd looked hot. They were like, I saw people on their feet going, yo.
Yep.
Pollo was here on the pre-party last night saying they draw 1,000 people to an indie show, Wildcat guys. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That's great. And they looked excited. And when La Rebellion won, I was texting with Jay, and I'm like, they're gonna restart this, right? Like I was legit afraid that arena was gonna riot. Dave. And Jay was just cackling, going, I love it. This is the best thing ever. What did you think?
Well, I mean, I myself would have put Hawks Aerie over.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I mean, having Damien out there, they're just using the mist way too much.
Oh, there is no other ending. Yeah.
I mean, the team themselves are not winning. They're defeating a team that cannot see. Quote unquote, they've been misted in the eyes. Now, all this is happening, and I mean, the refs have to see it. I know the refs, I mean, you may not see the mist actually blown into somebody's face, but when somebody is pinned and you look down and there's green all over somebody's face, no, there's something wrong. No, you didn't win. wipe the face. We're restarting the match.
Right.
Yeah.
That, I mean, they just need to figure out a way as to make it believable. Not, I didn't see it, so it didn't happen. If that's the only way that La Rebellion can win, I'm very disappointed in them. I like them as a team, but they don't need Damien 666 blowing the mist or the guys themselves doing the mist to defeat a team that they're on the same level. They can fly around. Both teams have great moves, and they are a good tag team. They work well together.
Yeah.
But I'm sick of the mist.
Yep.
It's just like, okay, they won matches legit before. They went solid heel and they won by cheating, but it's the same ending every match. Ooh, don't care. Don't want to watch it anymore. I want to see them. I don't care if they cheat to win. I want to see them win in a different way.
Yep.
At this point, if I'm in a tag team and I see that I'm going up against La Rebellion and Damien's out there, I'm coming out with a phlebotomist shield
Yeah.
to the ring because it's going to happen. I know I'm going to get misted.
Get one of the ones like Hunter and Sean had back in the day when they were talking to Slaughter.
There you go.
Yeah. What did you think, Jeremy, of this one?
Anytime I get to see Hawksari or La Rebellion wrestle, and especially if I get to see them wrestle each other, it's a fun match. Going back to the handicap match that PJ had with La Rebellion, I would have really liked to have seen them go over this time because that would have solidified that match that he had with them where he came so close all on his own,
Yeah.
and I feel that this was a missed opportunity. I really do.
I agree with both you guys. I would have put him over. I know Jay said this is the best. It's the best thing I've seen in a while. But if they chase him all the way through December and January and go to that January 31st live event and win it there, I'm good.
Yeah.
If that's the payoff, okay. And I'm all for it. But good match, really good match. I'm sure the Alliance guys will get into it tomorrow. We're down to the last two. It's Kamille defending the World Women's Championship, the Brickhouse, one time, versus Kylan King and Chelsea Green. This one ends so I knew Green was going to go down, but the way it ended was much to my surprise, where Kamille retains the championship after a spear on Chelsea Green. I almost thought, I guess because the buildup was fairly decent for the match, that this might be the way for Kamille to get out of the title without losing it, have King take it off Green, have Kamille, I'm on a tear, I'm still the one-time champ, I'm going back after it, whatever, or Chelsea Green for that matter.
Yeah.
And it didn't end up that way, but this was still one of the top three matches on the card for me. Jeremy, I thought the women killed it again. What did you think?
Oh, definitely. And as it's well known, I'm not a fan of multi-person matches, but this one worked.
Yeah.
And all three of the talents in there, I'd have been happy if any of them won. I like that Kamille held on to it.
Mm-hmm.
It just helped solidify that one time even firmer. But as we stated earlier, she's gone through everyone now, some twice. Where do we go from here? We have Genocide, who pops up here and there. Allison Kay, who went to a draw with Kamille on a past episode of Power, I believe it was.
Yeah.
A draw where they were both still standing in the middle of the ring at that. So we've
Right.
never seen any payoff for that. I'd love to see that again. You know, there's a lot of different avenues that they could go down with this. My main one that I'd like to see is the non-binary Nightmare take it.
You'd have to build Max up again, having, and Camille's had some great matches, some great title defenses. Even before she was champion, she mowed people down. I still remember Thunder Rosa lying on the match, maybe 2 years ago now, a year and a half, just right here, right?
Yep.
And she continues to have these amazing matches. Like you say, who's left? Who's left, Dave? Who's left? Is it Max?
I don't know. I mean, Max has already wrestled against Kamille, and Kamille ended up putting Max in a torture rack. I'm not sure who they're going to bring in, but in the back of my head, I've always thought Jazz gave up the title. Jazz never lost. Jazz isn't wrestling anymore.
No.
But if Jazz would be a manager of someone to come in and try to take the title, it either builds up somebody as a possible contender or a possible champion. But I mean, right now, Kamille has gone through everybody.
Yeah.
That they're going to have to go outside and grab some talent. Chelsea taking the loss. I believe Chelsea is headed back toward the E.
Yep.
So that storyline was the right one.
Yeah.
It keeps Kylan strong because she didn't take the pin. She didn't win, but she didn't lose.
Right.
So that keeps her on an even keel. But they need to figure out who the next contender or contenders are. That they need to bring in one or two, maybe three outside wrestlers and build them up as possible contenders for the belt.
Yeah.
Even if they don't win, they need to bring in some strong women that build up Kamille until they decide to take the belt off of her.
Yeah, they have to bring in new people. They have to bring in new contenders for. If not, her beating the same people starts to devalue her. I feel.
Yep.
To Dave's point, unless you have someone like Jazz saying, "Here's the new awesome Kong of 2022, almost 2023 now." What one word answers from you guys? Would you endorse Tessa Blanchard to come into the NWA? You can give me more than one word if you want. I'm just trying to make it clear. Dave's thinking about it. Jeremy's thinking about it.
Why I personally don't like her tactics. She's a name. She could possibly bring some attention to the NWA. But it's almost the same thing of, oh, Tyrus is your champ and you're bringing in so-and-so. That they need to either bring in an established name that works with the NWA and then moves on, or they need to bring in some indie talent that they have a chance to help flourish and make even larger in the NWA before they move on to greener pastures. And right now, I mean, I'm not really aware of that many women that would move a needle.
She's got the name, and I mean, I think it's faded in the last couple of years, but she's got the star power and the ability to be the I just saw Willie. I was waiting for Willie to chime in. She's got the star power and the ability to be the one to go, oh my gosh, like it's Tessa Blanchard. She could take this title from Kamille. So what was your answer, Dave? Was it yes or no?
If Tessa is willing to play nice, but all her history shows that she doesn't play well with others, if she doesn't get her way, it may be different, being that it would be the NWA, and both her father and stepfather have very, very strong ties to the NWA, but not this version of the NWA.
I could see Tully managing Tessa, although I don't know what the relationship's like. So if she plays nice, what about you, Jer?
No.
You wouldn't.
No. The only way I would bring her in is if she would have to, because you're gonna have that very vocal side that you'll have a situation just like Tyrus, where you're bringing this person in. You know, you're doing business with this person after everything that they've done. She would have to. For me, she would have to come out and just, yes, I did all this stuff. I was horrible. I was young. I skyrocketed to the top of the women's division and all of wrestling at such a fast pace that I got overwhelmed, and then I just took everything for granted, and I was a real ass, and apologize.
Mm-hmm.
And then just go on a straight redemption tour. I just kiss all the ass that needed to be kissed, but that won't happen.
If she did that privately or like on social media, but played a character that was like, I'm not apologizing for anything, I did that. Like if you see EC3 in the interview he gave recently, he's like, I love the NWA. I love what they're doing right now. It's like a lot of fun, and there's so much history and tradition. And of course, this character is like, this place needs to be burnt to the ground, right?
Yeah.
I would bring Tessa Blanchard in if she played nice. You can always, fire her or whatever.
Right.
But I think that's still a name that that could be used. That being said, there was a close up on Kylan King at the end of that match where she looked upset that she didn't get beat, but she has been beat before. So
Yep.
I don't know. The last match, of course, we've talked a lot about tonight and last night and many nights on social media since it happened, with Trevor Murdoch defending the World's Heavyweight Championship against both the Manster, Tyrus Smash, and Matt Cardona. Again, the details, they can get into it tomorrow night. But Tyrus, as we all know, defeats the champ himself, actually, with a Tongan death grip into a kind of a slam, and in a pin, 1, 2, 3, in the middle of the ring to win the title. Dodi Kusamonto said, if there was a highlight in this match for me, it was Idol Sports Management all coming in with the belts and having that shot at the end where all the titles are in the air. That was pretty cool. Dave, I'll go to you first. You were there for the match. Tyrus wins. What does the crowd do?
It was very mixed. I mean, you had people that were, I wouldn't say happy about it, but they cheered for it. There were a lot of boos, but there were a lot of people that I talked to that just didn't understand why it was a three-way.
Yeah.
And they would have rather Matt won.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing that Tyrus won. I'll take a wait and see. But he's going to be 50 years old in February.
Yep.
I give him, all props to him for doing what he does. But he does not move well in the ring. And, Murdoch carried that match when he had to be in the ring with Tyrus.
Yep.
Now, if they do, I'm not sure how they'll do it, but if they end up doing some championship matches at the tapings, or at least set up some matches of qualifiers for a chance at Tyrus.
Yeah.
But right now, Idle Sports Management and Church Money Enterprises, they're going to be the hot thing that they're going to be pushing.
Yeah.
There's several people that can go after that belt, but they're going to have to be able to carry Tyrus, because as much as I give him props for doing what he does, going over 10 minutes in a match that is not multi, it's going to be a tough one.
What I found about the people that were upset about it, I'm not thrilled about it, but what I is like, Ric Flair held this belt, Lou Thesz held this belt, and you can't go down that list of champions and find a bad champion. But they don't seem to quite understand the value of a guy who can talk his ass off, who has the amount of followers and exposure he has, whether it's on Gutfeld or social media or anywhere else. There's a lot of New York Times bestseller lists that hit #1, but that's a hard thing to do. He sold a lot of books. Nick Aldis said, I hope he put tickets to 74 in them, because he doesn't put asses in seats, and that's currently the case. But Jeremy, what would Lou Thesz do, who's joining us, says Mike Rapata as champion didn't kill the NWA. Not the first big oaf in wrestling history to luck into a title run. This too shall pass. Do you agree?
Yeah, there's all throughout wrestling history, there's, for lack of a better term, shitty champions. Look at the Sheik. That was a shitty champion. He took off with the belt.
He physically he left with the belt. Yeah.
To me that's the shittiest of champions. Took their ball and ran home. So like Dave said, I'm still holding out hope. The end of the year is coming around. We know that there are changes that are going to be made to the NWA as far as how they do their shooting schedules and stuff like that moving forward. So every championship needs a transitional, needs a person to transition from one person to the next. So I'm holding out hope that that's what this is with Tyrus, and that we get potentially a Scion or Jordan Clearwater run at the title, or Latimer, Dane, EC3, a Chris Adonis pop back in, Kratos, as I said earlier. There's a lot of people that they've got that they could push after it. It's just I'm holding out until I see what they're going with this, where they're going with this.
I guess we're all holding out hope. I'm with you. I honestly don't think it's going to be good, but holding out hope. Miracles do happen. This is something Carlton said here. If you think about it, you have to carry Tyrus in a match. When in the past, the champ would call the match.
Right. And that brings me to the as you so aptly responded to one of my tweets with the Zeppelin crashing. You know, there was a spot on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood this past weekend with Carlito in a match against Clearwater. And at one point, Carlito's going up to the top rope, and he's going to do his elbow. He climbs off the top rope and goes down to the second rope after wagging his finger. Then he climbs down to the bottom rope, and he's like, no. And then he gets down on the floor, on the mat, and he drops his elbow. The man knew, I could probably hurt myself, even though he's in way better shape than Tyrus is right now. He was aware of the fact that I'm this age. I'm not going over. I'm not winning this belt, but it'll be a fun little spot. So I'm going to do it from the floor, and the crowd popped for it.
Yeah.
Know your limitations in the ring, but to see the champion, the future champion, come off of the second turnbuckle and just fall like a water balloon to the ground.
Yeah.
No. Just no.
We shall see what happens, guys. Carlton says it's sad, but Aldis sounds like a hater because he didn't move the needle, honestly. I like Aldis, but when the NWA started, Cornette was the one who drew the attention to the brand. Lou asks, will Tyrus be booked as a heel or a tweener? Oh, he's a heel.
He's a heel.
Yeah, I mean, and well, let's just go into it right now and talk about, we'll snap through it real quick. NWA Power from this past week, because Tyrus is in the cold open, and with Idols Mania Sports Entertainment, we talked about the funny bit with the hard cam and Kyle Davis going, you might want to get out of the way of all the talent. Tyrus showed us at least one portion about why he's chosen as champion, because like somebody heckled, and you might have heard it, Dave. I don't know what the guy said, but Tyrus responded with once you go get a waiver, have it signed, get in the ring, go home hurt. And the people are here to see me. They ain't here to see you, brother.
Yep.
And I thought, sounded great. What'd you think of the segment, Dave?
Well, it did show unity within them coming back together, that hopefully, storyline-wise, they're able to carry the NWA, because they have 3 of the multiple belts. And I mean, they have to tell the story.
Yep.
Yeah.
That if they're not willing to either put others over or run a storyline that has a good ending, all this was done for nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
That, I mean, there was a reason Clearwater won. There was a reason that Scion retained. There's a reason that they went up against the people they did wrestle. There was a reason, be it one-man booking, that Tyrus won. If it's a experiment and it doesn't work out, it's time to start over again. Who knows? I mean, look what happened when they gave Trevor a second chance at the title.
Yeah.
That now, if Tyrus as champion, he's not TV champion, he is the champion.
Yep.
He has to either improve or move on.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, it's I'm not going to say strictly on Billy, but it is. he chose to have Tyrus as new champion.
Yep.
Tyrus can handle it. It's partly Tyrus's fault, but it falls on Billy. Billy chose to have him knowing the condition that he is in and the way he is able to wrestle or not wrestle.
Yep.
That's an incredibly valid point, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if Tessa Blanchard showed up in the NWA. Same.
Right.
Right. Listen, I don't touch on this stuff much either, and with good reasons. Willie says Jim Cornette doesn't think before he speaks. When he makes racist comments, he thinks it's funny. I'm not going to defend Cornette, I'm not going to demonize him either. If that's what you get out of him, who am I to say that you're wrong? That's not an experience that I can speak to. I will say that it's exactly the same reason why you've never seen NWA Gold show some of the Southern titles with the Confederate battle flag on it, because I'm touchy about it, and I am not going to be an apologist for anybody.
Nope.
Or say it was a different day or a different time. That's just not me. It's not us, and it's one community. So I think it's valid if you say it's valid. Carlton says, I know Cornette has problems, but it was the people who are editing the tapings' fault. I think in response to Willie's comment, it was a joke that he made about Trevor Murdoch. For those who don't know,
yeah.
And it doesn't bear repeating. It was a bad joke, and I hope the intent wasn't there for racism. But again, who am I to say? Plus, where's the 22% from AEW? Yeah, man,
Yeah.
I don't know. I do not know. Lou says if the idea is to draw his Gutfeld fan base, being a straight heel works against that, in my opinion. But the alternative, playing hard to that crowd, sends everyone on the other side running for the door.
And that's what I kind of feel that they may be building to, with as much as Idol gushed over Tyrus winning the belt, but didn't really have a whole lot to say about his own son retaining, and then didn't really do much to put him over or anything. Scions with Idol, Clearwater's with Church's Money, correct?
Jeez, yes.
Yeah.
So there you have a split of those two from Tyrus. If he decides that, okay, you guys are going to come out, I've given this some thought now, and you guys could come after me, and you both are worthy competitors and could give me a run for my money. Maybe I do need to kind of start sucking up to the crowd a little bit. And we could see a possible face turn from this.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting, though, I don't know if you can equate. Look, I don't watch Gutfeld because I can't stand Fox News overall. I'm not an American. It does affect me, but I'm not an American, and if I were, I wouldn't be a Republican. It's totally okay if you guys were. But so here's my question. Is Tyrus sort of an alt-right commentator? I've never seen the show.
I haven't watched it, but he does lean hard to the right more. I know he's a 1776er, and
okay. So I kind of wonder if it would be really interesting, just from an experimental thing, if you leaned into the right-wing conservative approach and became a babyface, or if you lean into the right-wing conservative approach and be a heel. It's an interesting experiment, eh?
Well, I mean, people are saying, oh, well, he won. Now all his followers that watch Fox News will come over to watch him on the NWA. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I even posted somewhere on Twitter, I'm not sure where. I mean, it's been a blur over the last couple of days. But I'm like, well, I watch the NWA and I see Tyrus wrestle. That doesn't mean I want to flip on Fox News.
Yeah, the other way. Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. You have to have, I mean, it's a cerebral thing. It's not just because I see somebody here that I want to see him here. You
Yeah.
have to have interest in, oh, I want to watch wrestling, or I want to watch this thing on politics. Me, I really don't follow politics.
Right.
If something happens, it happens. But I don't put my time and effort into something that I have no vested interest in.
Yep.
I'd rather watch Big Bang Theory, watch a rerun that I've seen 5 times, than watch Fox News.
Right. Yeah, and I, if it doesn't work the other way, I don't see how it works the way that Billy's hoping for right now.
Yeah.
Media says he wouldn't say alt-right; he's hard moderate. Okay, so unfortunately, he's shown on a so-called right-wing channel.
Okay.
From a Canadian perspective, a right-wing channel, but we're a little bit more liberal up here.
Now, going back to a question I believe it was Luthez posed earlier, would Billy book him as a tweener or a heel or a face? I think he could actually go as a tweener, be booked as a tweener if he were to lean into that alt-right, because then he would be appealing to that side of the fan base while also still being a heel to the rest of the fan base.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, media just said if Tyrus was on CNN, which I also can't watch for the same reason from the ultimate other end of the spectrum,
Right.
people would say he's a progressive Democrat. Yes, they would, because he would be. That's
Yeah.
probably how he would get that role. Anyway, it's an interesting discussion. Carlton points out Billy needs some old heads to book this show now, and Willie asks, "Do you think Dave Crockett should be involved in the NWA again?" I'm gonna do this now. No.
No.
I'm okay.
No.
I'm all right. All right. What do we have? Jordan Clearwater versus Mims, World Television Title Defense. Dave, how did it go?
It was a very good match, but being that it's 6 minutes and 5 seconds, Jordan didn't get to the action right away. He tried to ride things out.
Yeah, it was cool, actually. I actually liked it.
And I mean, as a heel, it's a cool thing, but when you think about it, you only have 6 minutes, so go after him. Do what you need to do to win. And him being a heel champion is going to jump out of the ring, do whatever it needs to be done to run the clock down. But any and all competitors that go after that title need to hit hard and fast from the get-go.
Yeah.
Now, Mims won a chance to be the first qualifier, or he qualified to be the first contender for the TV title.
Yeah.
I would have waited and had him a couple people down the line.
Yep.
Build him up. You just built him back up and then knocked him back down.
Yep.
There are several other people that they could have put in just to give Jordan a few wins. The tapings are coming up in a few weeks, so we'll see where the TV title goes from there. He needs 6 more victories before he can go after the championship, but I'm hoping that they don't have him go after the championship this quickly. They need to build up all their champions.
Yeah.
And I hope the NWA does the right thing. And being that it was a time limit draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I often go to the match and I forget to tell you the ending. Clearwater's pinning Mims as the bell rings.
So I mean, it was one of those things that I'm like, okay, cool. Mims didn't lose, but he didn't win.
Yeah. Yeah.
It built him up a little, that he could hang with the champion, and the champion sort of skating and running the clock down didn't make him look strong, but it made him look smart.
Yep. It did. Yeah. The match, I'm glad I like the 605 matches because it means it's not going to drag on, and I thought it was good. I got to move through this because my wife's going to kill me if I'm not done in about 20 minutes, and rightfully so. But media does say, from himself, he wouldn't care if Crockett being in the NWA, especially since the last Flair match presentation. Nostalgia's good, but if you ask me, Dave Marquez is doing Crockett now better than Billy is right now.
Definitely.
Really is.
The blueprint.
Ryan Davidson versus Odinson, Jeremy. This was surprisingly good offense by Davidson, who I don't know. What do you think?
I got written down that Davidson looked good in his NWA debut. I like that he worked the arm and shoulder. I just wish it would have made Odinson open up his moveset more. Typically, whenever you see a guy working a specific area of an opponent, that's their go-to place. And as we all know, that Asgardian uppercut, which we saw multiple times this match, is his go-to. Typically, that would force the opponent to open up their moveset a little bit and reveal something new. Shocking, what was it? The STF from Cena, 5 moves Cena, and then he breaks out the STF, and the crowd goes wild. Right. Odinson is a big, athletic guy, is very malleable with his body, and can do that sitting in that as that tornado Asgardian that he does to the back of him. That takes some skill, and with that skill, he's got to have more moves. I want to see more moves from him.
Yeah, he needs a manager too. I think. I'm going to go. May Valentine is with Aaron Stevens. He's going to wrestle tonight in a sanctioned match because he's a manager, and he makes a big stink out of this in that classic over-the-top Aaron Stevens way.
Don't hurt him.
Yeah. Then May is back with the Country Gentlemen, who say, we're going to kick it to you for this one in a second, Jeremy, because you pointed this out, but they talk very, very well, and they're going to get a shot at the U.S. Tag Team titles. But you mentioned something later. Yeah.
So I typically don't. I try to get my notes down while the show's going, but I don't. I'm rarely ever successful with that. So they usually most shows get two watches out of me that we're doing. So on the original broadcast that was on there, and they made mention at the end of watch what we do later on tonight. And then in the rebroadcast of it on YouTube, that segment was no longer in there at all.
Yeah, that's interesting. It was a continuity thing, I guess they were correcting.
Yeah, which kudos on them for catching it,
Yeah, they were always bitching about it, so they finally did it, right? That's good. Yep. We get Aaron Stevens versus Kratos in that sanctioned match. This ends in a mess where, oh God, you get two masked guys, and I don't think Dave, either one of them were wearing the question mark on their head. You heard some things shouted about what they were called as they. So the question. God, I get them all confused now. Question mark 2 comes out at some point, gets beat down. These two guys come in. Look, I hate the whole mask thing so much that let's just, we kind of kayfabe around Gags because we like that guy. I love Marche Rocket. Yeah. This is Marche Rocket and Rodney Mack. What are they shouting in the arena, or what's Aaron saying? There was no mic. You were telling us.
Aaron was shouting, I believe their names are Damage and Carnage.
Well, Marvel's going to sue.
and I'm just like, okay, it's Doom 2 from WCW. I mean, both these guys are good wrestlers, and I don't know if it's like blunt force trauma or
Yeah.
what the name is that he gave him, but I mean, I could hear bits and pieces, but it's one of these things of just let them be wrestlers. They don't need to change their name. I'm supposed to believe that, question Mac, who has all these tattoos, is now another wrestler that has all the same tattoos. Is this his step twin brother or what? It's just let the wrestlers be wrestlers. They don't need to be under a mask. You already have Gags under a mask, and you have question mark 2.
Yep.
Now, when question Mac was in the ring and lost the match at the pay-per-view and they had to unmask, they threw the towel over, you knew it was Rodney.
Yeah.
If you didn't know it was Rodney, I'm sorry, it's Rodney Mac. If question mark 2 would have lost and they would have unmasked him, you would have been like, okay, who is this?
Yep.
I know who the guy is. You guys may know who he is. And he's dealing with what they've given him.
Yep.
So just tell better stories. Let the wrestlers be wrestlers.
Yeah.
And he's really happy, by the way, on social media to be in the NWA and doing
Yeah.
just happy to be there and be part of this deal. So it's cool.
And he's a good hand. I mean,
he is.
He is a solid hand in the ring.
Karate.
Listen,
The worst thing about this is that it continues.
Yep.
It's going to go on for a while.
Yeah.
Jeremy, I'm going to flip to you before my wife loses her shit. Give us that United Wrestling, and rightfully so, baby. The United Wrestling Network Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Memphis results. Over to you, my friend.
All right. We're going to start off with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood here. My match of the weekend, not my match of the show, my match of the weekend was the opening match on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. We had Danny Limelight of the Bodega with going up against hysterical Shane Haste of the Mighty Don't Kneel. Fantastic match. A banger from beginning to end. Danny ends up winning with a rear naked choke. I can't for the life of me remember what he calls it. And I didn't write it down because I wasn't sure how to spell it. So but he gets the rear naked choke and gets a KO submission at that. Not a tap out. He choked out Shane Haste. Then we get the Embassy and Jordan Clearwater with Jeremy McPeak. Jordan's going up against Carlito tonight in the main event. And he's going to show the world that he is the most fighting champion in all of wrestling. And when it's all done, Carlito will hear those 2 words, and still. Then we go to Alex Gracia and Savannah Stone versus Zeta Zhang and Milo. Solid tag team action here. Stone and Gracia controlled most of the match. In the end, Gracia lands a backstabber for the win on Milo. We get a promo from Outlandish Zicky Dice. It's time people see another side of the dice. Hurt people, hurt people. We then go to Judiz versus Honest of the Institution. This is Judiz's last obstacle before he can get his hands on Jack Banning. Honest has been a thorn in Judiz's side this entire run so far, and he keeps that up. Very intense start from him. Controls a good portion of the match, but then Judiz is able to get the upper hand. And he submits him with what I'm calling a longbow submission. He took one of his arms and pinned it in between his legs, but back behind his back, and then took his other arm with his arms and pulled that one back. I'm not sure what it's called, but damn, it looked painful and effective. Then we get Jack Farmer with Danny Limelight. Danny still has his number one contender red carpet rumble mat contract. It doesn't matter who's holding the UWN Heavyweight Championship. He's coming for it. And then we go to our main event match with Carlito versus Jordan Clearwater. I like how they're building up Clearwater here, bringing in established vets to have competitive matches, and then him bag a win. You know, it just further solidifies him as a champion. Carlito is able to get in his signature apples spit to the face. Clearwater responds with a flurry of blows. Carlito turns it around for a moment. In the end, though, Clearwater hits the golden sleep for the win. After the bell, Danny Limelight comes out to the ring to attack the embassy and is followed by Willie Mack. So I'm sure in the coming weeks we'll probably see more flourish out of that leading up to the Red Carpet Rumble. Then we jump to Memphis Wrestling. This is part 2 of the Stars of Tomorrow. We start out with a match between Colton Cage and Ray Sanders. Ray was former personal ref of the Hollywood Clique. Ray reminds me a lot of Leo Rush. Very athletic, a lot of high-risk offense that he incorporates into his stuff. In the end, though, Colton Cage and the Hollywood Clique proved too much for him. Hollywood Jimmy Blaylock distracts the referee and is able to toss his cane in, which Cage uses to crack Ray across the top of the head and then get a roll up for a 3. Then we get a promo from a Victoria Vendetta, a trainee of the Wrestle Center. She's coming for the women's division. We get a debuting Reverend Ash Taylor with Dustin Starr. The Reverend passes around a collection plate. He got some used Kleenexes, some candy wrappers, and $1. He wasn't amused. Then we get Dustin Starr with Coach Klein and the Hot Shots. The Hot Shots are Ivy League and everyone else is community college, which leads to a match between Adamas Vane and Ray Collins versus the Hot Shots. Dustin calls the Hot Shots the Hot Shits for Maria since she was unable to be at this taping. Vane is an impressive addition to the Memphis wrestler. He's got good size, good look, good skill set in the ring. But the numbers game again proves too much. The Hot Shots win with a powerbomb neckbreaker combo. Looks kind of like the move that Anderson and Gallows did.
Right.
Then we get a quick commercial announcing that Buff Bagwell will be back in Memphis. And on December the 4th, if you're in the Memphis area, Tommy Dreamer will be coming to Memphis Wrestling. So I'm looking forward to see what they do with that. I love me some Tommy Dreamer. Then we get Dustin Starr with Precious. Precious is one of the trainers at Wrestle Center. This is also Martin. Precious is interrupted by trainee Draco. Draco gives a great promo, fiery promo from this guy, and antagonizes Precious. Precious responds with a shove or two. And so I think coming up, we may see something from that in the next few weeks. Then we go to our main event, which was Derek the King versus Big John Dalton. A couple weeks back, Big John had called out Derek the King, and Derek responded by slapping him and accepting his challenge. Good back and forth between both of them. Dalton getting the upper hand to the point that it caused King to grab a steel chair. He abandons the steel chair, and after doing so, Dalton hits a big slam but only gets a 2 count. Then immediately after, Derek King nails Dalton with a super kick and gets the win. Overall, both shows were really good. As I've said, Marquez has the blueprint right now for Hollywood, and so does Dustin Starr. Dustin Starr's got a good solid blueprint for how to incorporate storylines and wrestling cohesively into a 1 hour program.
It seems to me so often that the worst thing on either Hollywood or Memphis right now is sometimes better than the best thing that's happening in the National Wrestling Alliance. And
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it speaks as much to the quality that they're putting out as it does, the state of the NWA currently booking wise. Maybe you can help out with media here. Can't see Championship Wrestling from Hollywood on YouTube anymore. Only Memphis on the Championship Wrestling channel on TV.
Okay.
Hang on. I'll give you the other two. James says you can watch all the United shows on the Memphis channel, including Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield. And media says every episode I've seen on the channel is Memphis, no Hollywood. To which the response is, I'm going through this because I know Jeremy will have the answer here, but Hollywood is called United Wrestling, presented by Car Shield. So where do they find these guys, Jeremy?
Okay, so you will find both of them on the Memphis Wrestling YouTube channel. And like I believe it was James said, the Hollywood ones will be labeled as presented by Car Shield.
Okay. Is that their only medium right now? They're not on Fight. They're not on. They used to be. I know that.
I believe that they are still on Fight, but don't quote me on that. I haven't. I haven't had very good experiences with Fight, so I don't mess with it except for NWA, and that's just for power.
The last time
I have issues with it.
The last time I checked it on Fight, because my daughter wanted to see it, it was an old episode from like a year ago, and maybe I just wasn't doing it right. I don't know. That's possible.
And their interface is wonky as well.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. James Jackson says they do pay-per-views on Fight only. Okay. There's your answer. Thanks, guys. Always fun to talk about the UWN and hoping that they continue to grow and be successful.
Yes.
Let us go finally to our resident Booker man. Dave asked the question today for all of you guys in the chat. Does Tyrus winning the 10 pounds of gold, becoming the world's heavyweight champion? By the way, he called himself the world champion on Twitter, and I corrected him. He's the world's heavyweight champion because that's how Manuel Sabala wrote it on the title. Does Tyrus becoming the world's champion and holding the 10 pounds of gold elevate those around him? What do you think, Dave? You're muted.
There we go.
We're professionals.
Yep. I say yes. He does help elevate those around him, as well as those that he wrestles will help elevate Tyrus as well as his competitors. If Idle Sports Management and Church's Money end up parting ways down the line, I'm hoping that in that time, the wrestlers that are involved in any of the programs with Scion, Clearwater, and Tyrus are upped in stature. I mean, right now, you have a good 5-strong list of people that could go after any of those belts. Cardona still has his title shot, I believe, since he wasn't pinned.
Mm-hmm.
Murdoch has his rematch clause. Let's see. Kratos could go after it if they decide to take him out of that storyline with Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
You have Jack Stane. Once he's done with Crimweather, put him back in. Former champion. You still have the Pope.
The Pope, man. That's what I see right there.
Please.
The storyline is already there.
Yeah, it is.
That if Cardona takes the title from Tyrus, your storyline going back, Pope is automatically in it.
Yep.
Now, if Matt wants to come after the title, Tyrus can always say, well, sure, I'll fight the Cardona family, but I want Knox. Knox is a big enough guy that it'd be a decent match. It'd be a short match, but I think Knox could, in my mind, carry Tyrus. That they're both hard-hitting guys, that they could get in a 7 to 10 minute match without any outside interference. Possibly. That right now we don't know what's happening with, Chelsea's on her way to the E. I believe Cardona is still doing the independents, that he hasn't been asked to go back.
He said, I heard him say, or I read rather, that Zack Ryder is dead, and if he goes back, it's as Matt Cardona.
Okay. Well, I don't think the E wouldn't gain any money off of Matt Cardona since they own the rights to Zack Ryder.
Right.
But I think there's a story to be told, and it just depends on how long they want to give the Tyrus experiment a chance. That who knows what happens. But I'm willing to give it a chance. Before the NWA was actually featured on YouTube and on Fight TV, Tim Storm was champion. And if you followed Tim Storm, I'm not going to say he was a no-name, but he wasn't a well-known name.
Right.
Yeah.
But unless you followed Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in the early days before Billy bought the NWA and Lightning won, Tim was your champion. Now, Tyrus is given a chance to carry on the legacy and tradition of the NWA. We'll see where it goes. I think those around him and those that he faces can help restore the belt if the right story is told. And to me, the right story is Cardona.
Yeah.
He gave the belt up due to injury.
Yeah.
He never lost it. He's been thrown in weird situations where it's a 3-man match. He never got pinned. This happened. Running interference. He's now stuck in the Rolando storyline. And in the next few weeks, you'll see what happens.
Oh, God.
We will.
No.
I'm not going to spoil anything.
Great. Good.
Just watch. And I just pray. I pray to the wrestling gods. Just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Are you listening, Billy?
I have no ill will towards any wrestler. And if Billy thinks that Tyrus can help the NWA, that's on Billy. Tyrus was TV champion for how many months and had the belt on TV? I don't know what the schematics of who watches, how many subscriptions. I don't know any of that information. But I'm just hoping that whoever is doing the thing does the thing.
Well, that's in your end. I'm like, what's going on upstairs? Okay. Yeah. You know what I really loved about was the way on Power we talked about it already, how he put over Scion and Clearwater. And as you mentioned, either one of these boys can come after this title. It's all in-house and it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I immediately thought, I don't know if you guys remember Ric Flair or Arn Anderson challenging Ric Flair for the world's title.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of went, gee, Arn, I don't know. It was a bit reminiscent of that, but anyway, I agree. I think that they're going to, he does elevate people around him, and we'll see what happens. As you say, we're going to see what happens. It will be interesting. Lou said, I never thought Cardonia, saver of the NWA, would be a face turn angle.
Right.
Yeah. And Jeremy, Jeremy had to go offline for a second because you're trying to give us this amazing read, and media put this joke in there that he has to elevate those around him. When he walks, his footstep vibration make people leap into the air. And
that was not me.
That is the Willie Bowen Award for Tyrus joke of the day.
Yep, definitely.
There were more talk about the UWN because we kind of try to move. I almost said we move quickly. That's funny. To make things more complicated, the UWN pay-per-views are under a channel called Basque Boxing on Fight. So if you search for Bash Boxing and the pay-per-view from August of this year, it comes up. Yeah.
Interesting.
James Jackson Jr. says, do we feel the belt on Fox translated into paid subscriptions? I don't know. I doubt it. But I think we've kind of talked about that earlier in the night. Media says even before Championship Wrestling from days, Tim was champ at a traditional champ wrestling. After that, Storm went to the NWA. Thorpe was pushing Storm down Smoky Mountain's throat. Smoky was like, uh-oh, no. It's so funny that the Tim Storm legacy is really, I think, because Billy Corgan bought the NWA. And we would think about him as a Mike Rapata, a Gary Steele, what have you. But he became, at least 2 years ago, in my opinion, the greatest babyface in wrestling at that time. Look at this. Oh, my goodness. Who is this?
You're all right. You're on stream.
Hi. Hi.
Say hi.
She just woke up, I think.
Oh, beautiful. Love new people. So that's it. That's it, guys. That's I say that's it as if like, boy, that was quick. Let's go. What are we doing? Today's Wednesday, so Thursday night.
Yes.
Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., 5 p.m. Pacific. It's Jay, it's DK, it's Jaden with the Alliance Guys podcast, the juggernaut of this particular network. And don't forget to tune into the pre-party, which I was lucky enough to host on Tuesdays, sort of the flagship of alliance-wrestling.com, where Jay, who's been doing, I think he's been doing the Alliance podcast. I don't know how long the pre-party, I guess as long as Power's been out, but 15 years alliance-wrestling.com has been doing this under Jay Powell. 15. I have 2 children who aren't that old yet. So, 5 p.m., 2 p.m. Pacific, the hour before Power, the pre-party with J. Cal. For us, where can they find you online, guys?
You can find me on Twitter at HJWOTS, there and there alone.
You can find me on Twitter and over on Instagram at Dave Scooby.
Yep, you can find me on Twitter currently at NWA Gold _, but I am about to announce a contest because I'm going to rebrand. I got nothing but love for the NWA, and I won't be doing any other bouts but the NWA as long as I do anything. But at some point, you got to take the company's name out of things, and I need to rebrand, and I need help. So the belt that's in the bag underneath the 10 pounds of gold there is another 10 pounds of gold. The replica is going to be the prize. I did say tonight that I was going to give this away in the draw because I'm tired of waiting, but I will do that tomorrow or the next day because I did not get a chance after work to actually do the draw.
Okay.
So there you go. That's follow me on Twitter there, and I'll announce the draw. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. The website's nwagold.com. Most importantly for all of us, though, it is at the Alliance blog, and alliance-wrestling.com is the platform that we use. It's been wonderful. Thank you, everybody in the chat.
Thank you, everyone. Great discussions today.
Amazing discussions this week, and so many different voices. And while everyone's expressing their frustrations and their discontent, you always get that feeling that there's hope, and there's, we're all going to wait and see because we love the National Wrestling Alliance. We are the Alliance. Until next time, we'll see you guys at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.